Hello everyone, my name is Boris, and today I'll be doing a VOD review of me and Mister Kien. I particularly chose a game where we play a line, which I believe to be a little underplayed in the current meta, which would be the Shadowisles line. Particularly I believe it to be so because boards are not being capped properly and the itemization of Kalista is done slightly wrongly. So we will take a look, see how we approach the game here. We start out already with a Viego pair playing in the Gwen's Gift encounter. So if we are able to get a 2-star Viego before 1-4, I believe that's our green light to play for the Shadowisles, which is sometimes rare, but unfortunately you do not wish to be around behind. However, here we are able to pick up already Viego 2, and now we will also wish to execute a slam on him right away. We do opt to go for a Rage Blade. Now coming up on the Augment selection, Forge and Strength would require us to play into loose streaks. Hard commit is not particularly strong in the current meta, and therefore we wish to tempo as much as possible. However, since we had a slammed item already, we did not opt to go for a TG. Hence, Prismatic Destiny is going to give us into Buried Treasures, which gives components, which is the best way you can tempo in the early game. Now, I will pause in a second to show the ways that I believe people are not capping the boards properly and why certain items are not as great as Kalista as some people might believe. However, for now, let's play out the first stage, as this is where your game can make or break it. Particularly, you wish to be able to tempo as fast as you can. Viego is a champion that does fall off in stage 3. Hence, you wish to perhaps 7 or Rage Streak. And then the items you slam can be pretty much anything, like any kind of tank items, any trash items, because it's going to be on guaranteed unlock. As well as Kalista items are going to suffice. He is a hybrid fighter, so anything that you can get more juice on the board is going to work. Now, we do opt for a Shojin, however I believe this is one to be one of the weaker items on Kalista. And I will see if I can pause here for a second. The controls unfortunately are as they are. Okay, there we go. Now, if we take a look here and see Kalista's itemization, Spear of Shojin is by far the most commonly built item on her. However, if you are playing Vanquisher, which I believe you should be playing at least 2 Vanquisher, items such as Blue Buff and Nashers are going to perform quite a bit better. This is also filtered for high rank. And as we can see, that reflected in their deltas as well. They are underplayed, so the sample size issues might be there. So let's see if we can also filter to Masters Plus. We can see that they are performing a little better, although 0 delta with such a high play rate on the weaker line is still good. What else we wish to build on there is generally we wish to go for something like a Striker's Farewell and a Last Whisper. IE is still nice since we will be running low Vanquisher build. But in my opinion, Striker's Frail plus a mana gen item are the must. Now that we are here, we can also talk about the ways to cap the boards. Generally, I believe this to be the highest cap version you can go for a board, which is achieved by going to level 9 from capitalizing from the tempo you gained, and then be able to cap around Rise as your AP item holder. Hence you would be having at least 3 carries in Kalista, Rise, Thresh, and one of your tanks. As the reason why item augments are going to be so strong. However, if you need to stabilize on level 8, we can go for a board like this. And also in the board before, we can look to flex something like a Braum or other Vanquishers if we are unable to hit Azir, as we do want to unlock the Sharima to be able to play the Rise. Now let's turn to the game. We are fighting here a very strong Yasuo player, which unfortunately is going to make us drop the streak. So we are not in the most ideal spot. We already pre-leveled, so we have committed to trying to tempo as fast as possible. Now from a carousel, this comp can use quite a few belts. We can also use sword items, gloves, which would be the general component you wish to go for. Also, we are playing in the Gwift encounter, so we are even more eager to slam, and the lobby tempo is going to be a little high. We get the double road drop, so we're just going to transition that into a death cap, which can later on transition to our Thresh. Thresh is great in general in applying any sort of debuffs, such as anti-heal and shred, due to his cage that is going to drag enemies in. As well as once we get to a Thresh, there are certain ways you could position him, which I'm going to outline once we get. Now we might as well take a little scout around to see what the lobby is playing. We already saw there's a Yasuo player who's tempoing. We seem to have world runes with Zone and Ishtal. This guy has high rolled their world runes. The augment is, and we're fighting them as well. The augment unfortunately going away with the next patch. Then we do seem to be having a, let's return to that in a second. Pick up a win here, so end up on a 2 streak, still keeping the tempo high. Unfortunately, do not have that extra gold. Alright, so we have a someone tempo make it Noxus LeBlanc, also a very strong comp in the current meta. We have someone who it seems, no, this is the same World Runes player, my bad. Forged in Strength, Loose Freak player, cannot see what exactly they're playing. Trade Tree with playing perhaps into some form of a Void Line. Another Zone player, who are playing from Lost Streak, and another World's Rune player with Demacia and Ionia. Now, neat trick to note also, we saw a Gunslinger emblem there. If you are able to somehow manifest a Gunslinger emblem, it is quite good on Kalista, due to her all of her spears applying the extra armor reduction. Now, I guess this board is simply not working great in the meta TFT replay, hence we are unable to see the outcome of the fight there. However, it's a turn. Our item selection, we're not restart mission, we're not taking Recon Bob. Fire Sale is going to be just a simply great econ augment that we're looking for here, especially in a spot where we wish to tempo and eventually make it to level 9. We are able to pick up Aloris 2 from it as well, and Xin Zhao too, and we have transitioned the AP items onto Gwen. This is one of the awkwarder things of this line, as in you have to carry a Gwen 1 with the AP items that you're going to be transitioning into Thresh due to how much the Viego falls off and him not being able to hold Kalista items as well. And in general also for the Piltover mods, Blast Shields is the best mod we can go for, as we noted in the later board, our frontline is a little bit lacking, and we do want to stall for that Kalista to be able to stack up the spears into targets and execute them. Going up against the Yasuo player, who seem to have rolled down, already sitting on 7 copies of Yasuo. However, now we have the item advantage over them. They are on double econ. Therefore, we are able to pick up a win. We have the front line to support our damage dealers. The one thing that is also weird about this comp is in the sense that if you are winning fights like this that are too much, your soul stacks are going to fall off, and this is also why it seems a little counterintuitive in a way to end up dropping only to do Shadowisles in a later game. However, the top cap provided from the 5 cost is just so much stronger. Therefore, you do prefer to eventually drop out starting stage 5, as otherwise if you are staying in, the comp is going to do quite well, especially since you are running an uncontested 4 cost, so you can 2-star your Kalista. However, coming up to the stage 5 when you're facing these legendary boards, you are going to have a quite rough time. We have managed to string back to onto 6 streak. Again, very unfortunate we had to drop the round earlier. We would have been quite a lot richer right now, and it seems to be a little econ lower side of a lobby. And let's check our souls count. We should be unlocking Kalista pretty soon. Yes, we are going to be unlocking it coming up to stage 4. Therefore, let's see if we opt to roll down a little bit to see if we can 2-star the Kalista, or we're going to be just streaking it straight to 9. Able to carry our streak right into the neutral, so we're going to be making that extra streak gold, which is very, very helpful for our spot. Now, in case you do some things like a Shojin, for example, that is another thing that you can eventually transition onto the Rise and go for a different kind of mana item. Now, this is going to be a slightly complicated turn due to all the Gwen Scissors going out, but as you can see, we already slammed a Spear of Shojin, which is going to be better once we're able to get in that. Sorry, not Spear of Shojin, it's Nashor's Tooth, as when we get in the Vanquisher. And we just opt to go for an IE for now, which is going to synergize again well with the extra crit. Now, Bronze for Life is something you can consider, and we do opt to pass up on the econ options, as we do need more combat power right now, and Mace as well is just another great way to juice up the crit, since we're just looking to run 2 Vanquisher. It looks like we are going to be instead sitting here and not roll down, as we want to make our way to level 9 as fast as possible. If any win we can pick up here right now is going to be huge, especially right still way on the streak. And currently our front line is just so strong that we are able to comfortably sit on 1-star carries. Now, if we do run into some upgraded backlines, we might be facing some issues. And we also find it interesting that we are opting to keep the items on the Gwen right now, valuing the save of extra movers that we might use to later on cap our board. Thankfully, we're queuing up into another 1-star carry. However, the Folly Bear is able to get on our backline, and that is the ruin for our streak. Still very comfortable 82 HP position. Therefore, we should be able to move into the next stage, perhaps level 9 to 5-2. Quick scout around, we see we have a Void player, we have the Ishtal player, who are on the 13 Ishtal quest, so they should be cashing out the Brock right now. Ionia player, another Ionia player with the Yasuo, have hit their Yasuo, but still lacking on the gold. The Echo player with Prismatic Ticket, who have hit and playing the Echo Nidalee version. We have a Demacia player playing around an early Zillion, so they're going to be making their way to level 9 as well. And we have the Flarioid player from before. Fighting the Demacia player, who have 2-starred their 2 of their 4 costs. And this comp is very strong once they manage to 2-star their 4 costs, so we drop around here. We do manage to pick up a 2-star on Bessa and are going to opt to cap around it. And this is another neat thing about this comp, that coming next patch, Thresh is going to get little buffs. And if you have something like an Ambessa, we could also potentially consider capping this comp around Mel. Especially if you got an early one, you could see it maybe perhaps get an Radiant item out. However, I do believe that the pairing with Azir generally just going to lead to higher cap. And you do always want to wish to keep the Seraphine in, since the Piltover Splash is just so strong. Now, we are going to drop the Gwen already. We have unlocked our Thresh. And at that point, we do not seem to value the soul count as high anymore. And yeah, we're going to level to 9 already. We find an early 2-star Thresh, which is going to be quite good for us, and we might take this time to already talk about the Thresh positioning. Ideally, you would wish to have Thresh on the same side as the main enemy carry, for him to be able to start stacking up resets. However, if you are unsure of which side you're going to be facing, as it might be in this kind of situation where we have a split in our matchmaking pool. Keeping him center is going to be generally a safe bet. Another thing to note about Yorick is that once Yorick casts, his ability does not care about the range, as in the Mana Reave part. The base ability itself, the damage dealing part, obviously has a range. However, the Mana Reave is going to be targeting the enemies that have dealt the highest damage regardless of the range in which they are. Now we have unlocked our Shuriman, so we know we could be looking to unlock our Rise as well, hence we're sitting on extra gold lead. We have managed to string 2 wins together from being able to cap around the Kalista 2 as well. And we are keeping the Ambassador around as we've not found a Fiddlesticks yet, and plus it's a 2-star, which provides us with a little bit extra frontline. It's a very well recognized spot as to be able to sit here, and we are able to pick up a close win against the volley board. Have unlocked our Rise right now, and another thing to note is that obviously a Vanquisher emblem is quite a good emblem in the comp. So I wouldn't be surprised if we pick that one up. It might be harder to get these days when there are quite a few GP players going around, as they value the Vanquisher emblem on Belveth quite high as well. And this is another neat thing we can do. We can toss the Vanquisher emblem on the Rise, and I believe that every hit that the Rise damage instance is able to potentially proc us a little bit of gold. And we know that also that we have slammed IE and JG because we are only running 2 Vanquisher, and while it enables the ability to crit, we do get extra crit damage and a chance, since otherwise we would be running on quite low crit chances. However, with this setup right now, when we have 2 crit items plus obviously Mace's Will, we are able to get 100% crit. So we are constantly critting. Our Nashor's Tooth is proccing the extra mana, and we are gaining, we're doing large bursts of damage. Going up against the Demacia board, it does seem that we are unable to, unfortunately, break their front line. Garen is slightly just overstated in my opinion as a tank right now, especially once you get like a Spirit Visage rolling on him. However, if you are able to get the Kalista to cast on the Garen multiple times, you might be able to string a win together. Unfortunately, our own front line is a little bit lacking at the moment, but we are making our way to level 10. And hopefully we can find a 2-star Taric. We're going to opt to break apart IE, as Guard Breaker is just going to be give us an extra damage amp, pick up a 2-star Renekton and a Taric as well, and opt to slot the Braum. For now, at this point, I believe we'll be looking to transition the items from the Yorick. However, it seems that we are still valuing the extra Mana Reave that he is able to provide, which is why we, in the earlier stages of the game, we choose not to itemize Loris 2. Now I believe we are scouting around as we made our way to top 2, and there is the last player is 6 Luxes already going for the Lux 3, and let's see how we fare up against this board. Now, it does seem that the extra 2 Luxes plus with the... Do they have a Disruptor active as well? Yes, they do. So the extra Disruptor is able to slow the team quite down. We are unable to find the Rise 2, so I believe that we are just simply lacking damage to break through this very beefy front line that does have the Lux laser shooting across the whole board and reducing damage on our end. And yeah, that appears to be the case, that we just simply do not have enough damage to be able to break through. However, I believe that the game displayed the potential of this comp quite well, and with the changes coming up next patch, I believe that the comp is going to become more and more prominent in the meta. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed and learned something new, same as I did. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.